Hello Seahawk Nation and welcome back to Seahawk Central Sports. I'm your host Will Oakes.
And I'm Miranda Fabian. This week we will be discussing the latest sports news around UNCW, and we will have two special guests join us to talk about the Ray Rice situation. Stay tuned because Seahawk Central Sports starts right now.
UNCW men's soccer and Seahawk Nation have a lot to be excited about with this year's team. On Friday, UNCW upset 17th ranked South Carolina with a score of 2-1. UNCW simply shut down the Gamecocks throughout the game, allowing just 5 total shots, including only 2 in the second half. Jamie Dell was the hero of the night, as his goal in the 82nd minute proved to be the difference maker in the game. On his winning goal, Dell received a pass from Braden Smith and ripped a shot past USC goalkeeper Marco Velez from 15 yards out. The Seahawks improved to a record of 3-1 with their second road win of the season.
Our Seahawk golf team hit a rough patch in the Tar Heel Intercollegiate Tournament this weekend. Even so, sophomore Trey Guy led UNCW with 3 excellent rounds on the par 72 course, his first round being under par. The boys went out and worked hard, and they have nowhere to go but up when they head into the Reese Jones Intercollegiate Tourney, which starts up September 21st.
UNCW volleyball saw its 7-match winning streak come to an end with a loss against UNC Charlotte in the Wildcat Classic at Davidson College on Saturday. UNCW's Morgan Klein and Leah Gagliardi had 14 and 11 kills, yet the Hawks were unable to overcome an early deficit as they fell to Charlotte 3-1. Not all was bad for the Seahawks in the tournament. The team finished second out of 4 teams, with Morgan Klein and Meredith Peacock earning all tournament honors. The Seahawks are looking to bounce back in the Hokie Invitational at Virginia Tech on September 19th through the 20th.
This past weekend, the women's tennis team not only had to battle their opponents in the Beach Blast tournament, they also had to battle the rain. Although the bad weather proved to be an issue, the UNCW women took 2 of the 3 doubles matches before the rain forced them off the courts. On Sunday, the rain took the day off and let our Lady Seahawks finish their tournament strong. They won 4 of the 7 singles matches against Virginia Tech and 3 of the 4 doubles against East Carolina. While the ladies battled the rain, the men's team had more success with the weather as they went 10-0 in doubles and grabbed 3 more victories in singles before the storm came through on Friday. Our men's tennis team crushed their opponents during the Seahawk Invitational as they finished 34-4 for the weekend.
In recent news, many of you are aware of the Ray Rice incident that the NFL has been dealing with this past week. Rice was initially suspended 2 games this season after being charged with domestic violence for beating his wife, Janae Palmer, at an Atlantic City casino on February 15th. Since he was given that suspension, a new video was released which showed the brutal beating of her inside the elevator. Rice was later released by the Ravens and suspended indefinitely by the NFL. As if this was not enough bad publicity for the NFL, a more recent report has come out claiming that Minnesota Vikings running back Adrian Peterson was arrested for abusing his 4-year-old son. These reports have sparked a nationwide curiosity on how the NFL is handling punishments on these major issues in our society. After handing out other questionable suspensions involving drug abuse around the league, people are asking for immediate reform of the NFL suspension policy. Today, we asked students around the UNCW campus what their response is to this situation. Let's take it over to Aria Lipscomb and hear what they had to say.
Thanks, Will. I'm here on Chancellor's Walk, and there are a lot of students here who feel strongly about the NFL's response to these situations. When I asked them about how the NFL handled these suspensions, this is what they had to say.
Well, they did give out a punishment, so that's good, but it's not good enough.
I think that anyone in the NFL or other major league sports should definitely be punished more severely when they do things like beat their wife.
There's an internalized misogyny surrounding football and sports in general.
There's a lot of kids that look up to them, and if we don't punish them, then we're spreading the message that it's okay to beat your wife.
I think that it's good that the NFL has taken a stance against this. It's been we're suspending you, that it's definitely being handled by the law, but I think it definitely needs to be handled. It's a serious situation.
I just don't think that's enough.
The NFL and its players especially need to realize that their actions are scrutinized, their actions are held up for as examples of how to live, how to be a man, how to be a young man. And consequently, I think the NFL needs to be extremely strict in making sure that departures from what's going to work are punished in some measurable way.
As we've heard, there are many strong opinions here on this topic. There are many different ways to look at the situation, and it's got a lot of people wondering what the NFL believes is responsible punishment. We've heard a lot of great responses. So let's bring it back to Will and Miranda to get some more insight.
Thanks, Aria. We have a special section of Seahawk Central Sports this week called Between the Panel. Here with us today, we have Will Townsend and Maddie Kearse to further talk about the handling of these NFL suspensions. So guys, thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate you coming out here.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so what are your thoughts about this issue?
Well, I guess just starting first with Ray Rice, I think it was kind of screwed up that the NFL didn't do enough research in the first investigation because I don't know, just the fact that TMZ easily found this video and we all saw how disturbing it was, and the fact that the NFL did not take the time to find that video kind of brings up questions, in my opinion.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Will. I think the fact that it's taken several months for this video to surface and the actual act happened several months ago, but Ray Rice is just now getting banned indefinitely from the NFL. It's kind of a reflection of really what's important to the NFL, and maybe it should be a harsher crime to start with, domestic violence.
For sure.
It's interesting because this is a league that takes a lot of pride in its image. They have a lot of initiatives, so they're out in the communities, working with children, getting out to more underprivileged crowds. And it's really sad that it's taken this long for all this stuff to surface, and it really makes you question the integrity of the league and its commissioner, Roger Goodell. What do you think about that, Will?
Well, I couldn't agree more, and I think it's an issue here of, like you said, the NFL wanting to cover up their image, and I really think they were just kind of hoping this Ray Rice issue would go away, and they just were hoping, all right, we'll give a suspension and no one will ask questions, and fortunately, people have continued to ask questions, and I think, Roger Goodell really needs to look himself in the mirror and, consider what kind of actions he's taking right now.
I just don't understand how they think that they could get away and cover this up. Personally, I think it's Commissioner Goodell covering it up. Now, before this, I really did like Roger Goodell as a person and as a commissioner, but this really, really tarnishes his reputation, makes him look really bad in this day and age with social media and cameras everywhere and websites like TMZ. Anything you do is going to get out to the public somehow.
Oh, of course, and a lot of people are putting out the argument that they think that the NFL had this footage beforehand and they were trying to hide it from the public, and then once it got released, then they actually did something about it, when a lot of people are saying that they think that they had this footage beforehand, like they had the knowledge of what had actually happened, and that's horrifying. So
absolutely horrifying.
Yeah, and I think what you were saying about the publicity that the NFL players have just as a part of their job, I think that when a lot of scrutiny doesn't go into these cases and a lot of, public scrutiny isn't carried out, then what is that telling America and what is that telling football fans everywhere about what these football players can get away with?
Couldn't agree more. And whether if they like it or not, these guys are role models. Mm-hmm. And they are put in the public perception of the public eye. Charles Barkley, funny guy and a great basketball player who I like a lot, had a famous Nike commercial back in the 90s where he simply stated, "I'm not a role model. Don't ask me to watch your kids or influence your kids." But the truth of the matter is I couldn't disagree with that more because they are role models. They're kids wearing their jerseys to school. They're watching them every single Sunday with their parents. They want to be just like them. When I was a kid, I want to be just like Peyton Manning. He's a good role model. But these guys are really, really making the NFL look bad. And, if they're sitting there getting away with this, you can't help but think if it's put in the minds of our youth, can they become an NFL player and get away with things like this? Is it acceptable? It's just a thought.
That's very true. Anytime you're in the spotlight at all, you're a role model, whether you like it or not. You are a celebrity. People are going to follow what you do. They're going to follow you not only on the field or on the camera, but off the field as well. And in your personal life, that's just something that you have to deal with the job.
I agree.
And I'll just say, too, I mean, even teenagers that are starting to experience relationships with girls, they're still looking up to these athletes.
They are.
And
of course.
For them, too, they're thinking right now, all right, well, maybe, I can get away with, battery, and that's inexcusable. And, that's, like you said, on the NFL's part, you guys are role models whether you choose to be or not, and some of these players are just not doing a good job of being role models right now.
I just want to know what Ray Rice was thinking. as a man, me and you have had this conversation before. I mean, you're supposed to take care of women and look after them and protect women. What on earth was he thinking in that elevator that night? I
really couldn't agree more, especially when the statistics are, kind of against women in the issue of domestic violence. I mean, 85% of domestic violence victims are women, and 1 in 4 women is bound to be acted against violently in her lifetime. And so, I mean, it just tells us that Ray Rice isn't the only one who's ever done this, but again, he's in that public eye, and he should be, I don't want to say made an example of, but we need to treat him the same as we would treat any other man who's hurt a woman.
No, I believe he really does need to be made an example of, because this is just not acceptable. This type of thing should not be happening anywhere, and it definitely should not be happening in the NFL in such public eye. And maybe it'll raise our eyebrows and make us question the NFL more with some of their policies and the way they suspend players. I thought it was interesting, personally, that Josh Gordon, a wide receiver, got suspended for, 9 games, I think it was, for marijuana use. And Ray Rice, when the first video was released, was only suspended for 2. And the question I have to ask is, what on earth are they thinking? I know it didn't show the whole video clip of what happened inside the elevator on the first one, but it showed them that this woman was obviously knocked out. And I think he even admitted that there was some kind of altercation that happened. So I just can't justify 2 games for beating a woman and 9 games for using a substance that's now even legal in some of our states.
Absolutely. That's very hard too, is just their policies. They need to find a way to make them equal for everything that a player might encounter or be charged with. And that's just something that's hard right now, is they're debating, and that's just something that they need to figure out, and people need to continue to question the NFL when they're encountering these situations, because that's the only way that these things are going to be changed and they're going to be fixed.
And I think it's also I think also it also needs to be brought up with Roger Goodell. It's kind of a very hierarchy system, and almost a dictatorship, to where he gets to decide what the penalty is, and he's obviously going to decide in the favor of money. So I think that needs to be brought up. NFL might need to consider changing how they discipline their players, or how they decide to discipline their players, having more opinions outside the NFL network would be a start, I think.
Maybe a jury or some kind of judicial system.
Exactly.
I agree. So if you're Roger Goodell right now, though, what do? You resigning? Are you fighting this out? What are your thoughts on that?
I would say I would think resign.
I would too. I couldn't agree more.
He doesn't need the money at this point. I mean,
No,
he has
he
a lot of
doesn't.
money, and I think he should face his problems and realize that he screwed up, and he needs to be reprimanded for these terrible, terrible actions.
I agree. So talking about issues in the NFL, as if it could get any worse for the past week, all these allegations and charges have come out against one of NFL's biggest stars, Adrian Peterson, Mr. All Day himself, that he has gotten in trouble for some child abuse with his 4-year-old son. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, I would say that child abuse is just as bad, if not worse, than partner abuse, because a child is, if anything, even more helpless than an adult woman. And I don't know, I think these actions, again, need to be dealt with in the way that any normal citizen would have to deal with these actions and allegations. I think that they should answer for their crimes as if they were, an average Joe on the street.
Agreed. The NFL takes a big stand on the shield. That's their logo. And they talk about protecting the shield at all costs. Well, the question I want to ask the NFL is, who's going to protect the women and children from the men who wear that shield? It's really starting to be a scary thought.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. Big thank you to Will and Maddie for coming on our show.
Thanks for inviting us.
We'll have to get you guys back on here sometime soon. You guys did great.
Look forward to it.
That's right.
Well, that is all we have for Seahawk Central Sports tonight. I am Miranda.
And I'm Will Oakes, and we hope you guys have a great week.